My beloved child. There is a quiet reason your heart refused to stop believing, even during the moments when it seemed easier to let everything fade into silence. What you have been carrying inside you was never as invisible as you imagined. Every hopeful thought, every patient breath, every time you chose kindness instead of bitterness created a path that could not be seen with ordinary eyes. And now that unseen path is beginning to reach someone who has been walking toward it without fully realizing where it leads. But before those two journeys finally meet, something unexpected has appeared along the way, not to erase what is meant for you, but to invite one final moment of understanding. Listen closely, because this is where many people misunderstand what unfolds before a meaningful reunion. They mistake a pause for an ending. They mistake silence for distance. Yet some of life's most important moments become quiet just before they become unmistakably clear. What appears to be delay is often a chance for hearts to become ready in ways that cannot be rushed. Your soulmate has been carrying thoughts they have never been able to express completely, not because they lack care, but because they have been trying to untangle feelings they barely understand themselves. That inner process has brought them closer than you imagine. And yet it has also revealed a serious challenge that neither of you expected to face. Perhaps you have noticed subtle changes within yourself recently. A strange calm arriving after restless days. Certain memories returning without warning. Moments when someone unexpectedly reminded you of a chapter you believed was already closed. These are not random interruptions. They are gentle reminders that your story continues even when nothing obvious seems to be happening. Every experience has quietly prepared you for what comes next. The remarkable part is that your soulmate has been experiencing similar moments from a completely different place, unaware that both journeys are beginning to echo one another. Now something delicate is unfolding around them. It is not the kind of problem that can be solved by rushing forward or forcing answers. Instead, it asks for honesty. The kind of honesty that can only grow after someone has spent enough time facing their own reflections. Your soulmate has reached a place where pretending no longer feels comfortable. Old expectations, unfinished conversations, and responsibilities they once ignored are gently asking to be acknowledged before they can step fully into the future they truly desire. This is not a punishment. It is a doorway that asks for courage before it opens completely. Don't skip, because something important is waiting for you inside this unfolding story. The challenge standing before your soulmate is not designed to separate your paths. In an unexpected way, it is revealing the depth of the connection they have been quietly protecting within themselves. What feels complicated today may soon become the very reason your reunion carries greater honesty, greater peace, and greater understanding than either of you could have imagined. But there is one detail about this challenge that changes everything, a detail your soulmate has only just begun to recognize, and once that realization becomes impossible to ignore, the direction of both your lives may begin to shift in ways neither heart anticipated. There are moments when life becomes so quiet that people assume nothing meaningful is happening. Yet those are often the very moments when the deepest changes are taking place beneath the surface. Your soulmate has entered such a season. Outwardly, very little seems different. They continue through familiar routines, speak the same words, and wear the same expression. But inside, something has begun to move that can no longer be ignored. A question has settled into their heart, returning again and again, refusing to leave until it is answered with complete sincerity. That question has everything to do with the future they secretly hope to share. The serious problem is not standing in front of them like a locked gate. It is living quietly within the choices they have postponed for far too long. Every time they tried to convince themselves that waiting was easier, that tomorrow would somehow provide clearer answers, another piece of their own heart reminded them that some opportunities are not meant to remain untouched forever. Slowly, almost without realizing it, they have reached the point where staying the same has become more difficult than moving forward. What makes this so remarkable is that they never expected you to become the reason these hidden thoughts would rise to the surface. They believed they could keep everything carefully organized, separating old chapters from new hopes. Yet every attempt to do so only brought your presence back into their mind in a different way. Sometimes through an ordinary conversation. Sometimes through a familiar place. Sometimes through a simple moment of silence that unexpectedly carried your memory into the room. Stay till the end, because what happens next explains why this season feels unlike anything before. Your soulmate has started noticing something they once overlooked. They are beginning to recognize that the life they imagined without you never feels as complete as the one their heart quietly keeps creating whenever your name crosses their thoughts. That realization has brought both comfort and uncertainty. Comfort because it revealed what truly matters. Uncertainty because it also exposed everything they still need to resolve before they can return with honesty instead of confusion. This is why the pace feels slower than expected. Meaningful reunions are rarely built on hurried decisions. They are built on moments where people finally become brave enough to stop running from the conversations they need to have with themselves. Your soulmate is standing in exactly that place now. Each day, another layer of hesitation falls away, even if no one around them notices it yet. They are discovering that the strongest step toward you is not simply reaching out, it is becoming someone who no longer hides behind uncertainty. And then, just when they believed they were finally finding clarity, an unexpected conversation unfolded. It lasted only a short while, yet it uncovered something they had completely forgotten, something connected to their past that suddenly placed one final question before them. The answer to that question may determine how they return to you, and the choice they make next could become the turning point neither of you saw coming. Not every turning point announces itself with dramatic words. Some arrive disguised as an ordinary afternoon, a familiar face, or a quiet thought that refuses to disappear. This is exactly where your soulmate finds themselves now. They believed the hardest part of their journey was already behind them. They assumed that once they understood their feelings, everything else would naturally fall into place. But life has a gentle way of revealing one more lesson just before a meaningful chapter begins. The conversation they experienced did not give them all the answers. Instead, it awakened a memory they had carefully placed in the background of their life. It was not a painful memory, nor one they wished to erase. It was simply unfinished. They suddenly realized that carrying even a small piece of yesterday into tomorrow could make it harder to build the future they truly desire. That realization settled quietly within them, asking them to pause. Not because they are moving away from you, but because they want to move toward you with nothing hidden behind their smile. If you could see what has been happening inside their heart, you would notice something changing almost day by day. The uncertainty that once surrounded their thoughts is slowly giving way to quiet determination. They no longer ask themselves whether you mattered. That question has already been answered. Now they are asking something far more meaningful. Am I ready to return in a way that brings peace instead of confusion? It is a simple question, yet it carries extraordinary weight because the answer will shape everything that follows. Don't skip, because there is a detail hidden beneath all of this that most people would never notice. While your soulmate has been sorting through their own thoughts, they have also begun seeing you differently. They remember moments they once overlooked. They appreciate qualities they once assumed would always be there. Small acts of kindness, quiet patience, and the strength you showed during uncertain times have started connecting together like pieces of a picture they could never fully see before. What once felt ordinary now feels deeply meaningful. Something important is waiting for you, because this growing awareness has created an unexpected challenge. The more clearly they see your value, the more carefully they want to approach the future. They no longer wish to rush into your life carrying uncertainty or unanswered questions. Instead, they feel a quiet responsibility to make sure that when your paths cross again, they do so with honesty, clarity, and genuine intention. That responsibility has become the serious problem mentioned at the beginning of this story. It is not keeping them away from you. It is teaching them how to return in the right way. Yet even as they grow stronger in this decision, another unexpected moment is approaching. Very soon, they will come across something so familiar that it will stop them in their tracks. It may seem small to everyone else, but to them it will feel like a gentle reminder they cannot explain away. In that single moment, one final piece of the puzzle will fall into place. And what they decide immediately afterward will begin changing the direction of your shared story in a way neither of you could have predicted. Sometimes the smallest moments carry the greatest weight. A familiar melody playing in the distance. A place they have not visited in years. A sentence spoken by someone who has no idea how deeply those words will land. Your soulmate is drawing closer to one of those moments now. They do not know it yet, but something beautifully ordinary is about to awaken everything they have been trying to understand. It will not arrive with noise or urgency. It will arrive quietly, and because of that, it will be impossible for them to ignore. For a long time, they believed they needed every answer before taking another step. They kept searching for perfect certainty, hoping that one day every question would disappear. But life rarely unfolds that way. Instead, it gently teaches that clarity often comes after the first honest decision, not before it. Your soulmate is beginning to realize this. The waiting that once felt comfortable is slowly becoming heavier than the courage required to move forward. There is another truth they have only recently discovered. The image they carried of you has changed. Not because you became someone different, but because they have finally learned to see beyond the surface. They now recognize the quiet strength you showed when no one applauded you. They remember your patience during moments that could have easily turned into disappointment. They have started connecting memories they once overlooked, and together those memories have become impossible to dismiss. Each one whispers the same message: what they nearly missed has become far more valuable than they ever understood. Stay till the end, because this next realization changes everything. The serious problem has never been whether your paths can meet again. It has been whether they can leave behind the habits that once caused hesitation. Every meaningful relationship asks for growth, and your soulmate has reached the place where growth is no longer an idea, it is becoming a daily choice. They are quietly releasing old assumptions, old fears, and expectations that no longer belong in the future they hope to build. That process is not always easy, but it is making room for something far more genuine than either of you imagined. And then something unexpected begins to happen. The more they let go of what no longer serves them, the more often thoughts of you return, not as distant memories, but as possibilities. They no longer wonder what might have been. Instead, they find themselves wondering what could still become. That shift is subtle, yet incredibly powerful. It changes the direction of every decision they make from this point forward. Something important is waiting for you, because there is one final obstacle that has not yet revealed itself completely. It does not come from another person, and it is not created by circumstances beyond their control. It comes from a promise they quietly made to themselves long ago, a promise they never expected to question until now. Very soon, they will have to decide whether to keep holding on to that old promise, or finally release it in order to step toward the future where your story and theirs can truly begin again. And when that moment arrives, everything that has been unfolding in silence will suddenly make perfect sense. There comes a season when the heart grows tired of carrying yesterday into tomorrow. It does not happen all at once. It happens through countless quiet moments, each one gently asking the same question: how much longer will you keep waiting for a version of life that no longer exists? Your soulmate has begun hearing that question more often than ever before. At first they tried to push it aside. They filled their days with familiar routines, hoping the feeling would fade. Instead, it only became clearer, calmer, and impossible to silence. What surprises them most is not the question itself. It is the answer slowly rising from within. Without forcing it, without searching for it, they are beginning to admit something they once struggled to accept. They have been preparing for a return long before they consciously recognized it. Every lesson they learned, every moment of growth, every unexpected delay has quietly shaped them into someone who now understands the value of genuine connection far more deeply than before. The serious problem is also changing its shape. It no longer feels like an obstacle standing in their way. It has become a choice they can no longer postpone. There is one unfinished responsibility they know must be handled with honesty. It is not dramatic. It is not overwhelming. But it matters because they have promised themselves that if they return to your life, they will do so with a clear heart rather than carrying unfinished chapters into a new beginning. That decision requires patience, and patience has become the greatest test they have faced. Don't skip, because something beautiful is hidden inside this quiet process. While your soulmate has been learning how to move forward, they have also started recognizing the invisible ways your presence has influenced their life. Certain decisions they made suddenly make sense. Moments that once seemed ordinary now feel connected. They are realizing that even during times when you seemed far apart, your story continued shaping each other in ways neither of you could fully understand. There is another realization unfolding that they have shared with no one. They have stopped imagining a perfect future. Instead, they have started hoping for a real one. A future where honesty matters more than appearances. A future where conversations are open instead of guarded. A future where peace grows from trust rather than certainty. This quiet change has softened something within them, allowing hope to replace hesitation little by little. Stay till the end, because the next moment arrives without warning. In the middle of an ordinary day, they receive an unexpected reminder connected to someone from their past. It is brief, almost insignificant to anyone else, yet it brings everything into focus. Instead of pulling them backward, it confirms how far they have already come. For the first time, they no longer feel divided between who they were and who they are becoming. And just as they begin embracing that clarity, another door quietly starts to open. It is not a message. It is not a coincidence. It is an opportunity they never imagined would appear at exactly this moment. Whether they choose to walk through it will determine how soon your paths begin drawing together again. Because what waits on the other side is connected to you in a way they have not yet discovered. A quiet shift has begun, and almost no one around your soulmate can see it. Outwardly, they appear much the same as they did yesterday. They smile when expected, complete familiar tasks, and move through ordinary routines. Yet beneath that calm surface, an entirely different story is unfolding. The thoughts that once came and went have now settled into certainty. They are no longer asking whether they should look back. Instead, they are wondering why their heart keeps leading them toward the same destination, no matter how many different paths they try to follow. This realization has brought unexpected peace, but it has also uncovered one final concern they cannot ignore. They have started asking themselves a question that feels deeply personal: if I return now, will I bring comfort, or will I bring unfinished pieces of myself? That question has stayed with them because they care more about the quality of the reunion than the speed of it. They no longer want a moment that feels exciting only for an instant. They are hoping for something that can remain steady long after the emotions of the first meeting have settled. Something important is waiting for you, because while these quiet changes are taking place, another thread of the story is moving into place without either of you noticing. A conversation is approaching. Not one that has already happened, but one that is slowly making its way toward your soulmate through a series of ordinary events. It will begin so naturally that they may not even recognize its importance at first. Yet before that conversation ends, they will hear a simple thought expressed in a way they have never considered before. Those few words will gently remove the last excuse they have been holding on to. Don't skip, because this is where the meaning of the title begins to reveal itself more clearly. The serious problem was never meant to stop your soulmate from returning. It was meant to make sure they returned with a different heart than the one they carried in the past. Sometimes life allows a delay so that people can become the version of themselves they once believed was impossible. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that every pause, every unanswered question, and every unexpected turn has quietly been preparing them for this very season. There is another change that may surprise even them. They have become more attentive to the smallest details. A familiar phrase reminds them of you. An act of kindness brings back a memory they had almost forgotten. Even the quiet moments at the end of the day now feel different, because instead of filling the silence with uncertainty, they find themselves imagining conversations they hope to have one day. Those thoughts no longer feel distant. They feel possible. Stay till the end, because something extraordinary is beginning to happen without any dramatic announcement. The opportunity that seemed so far away is slowly drawing nearer, one small step at a time. Your soulmate cannot yet see the full picture, but they can feel that life is gently arranging pieces they thought would never fit together again. And then, just as they begin trusting that feeling, they discover one unexpected detail connected to you, a detail so simple, yet so meaningful, that it causes them to stop completely. In that quiet pause, they realize there is one thing they must do before taking the next step toward you. And that decision will become the beginning of everything that follows. The moment they paused, something changed that could never be undone. It was not because they suddenly found every answer they had been searching for. It was because, for the first time in a very long while, they stop trying to outrun their own heart. In that stillness, they realized that every road they had explored eventually led them back to the same quiet truth. Some connections do not disappear simply because time has passed. They remain patient, waiting until both people are ready to recognize their value. Your soulmate has reached that realization with a new sense of peace. They no longer feel the need to convince themselves that their feelings are temporary or that they will eventually fade away. Instead, they have begun accepting them with calm confidence. That acceptance has become the turning point. It has given them the courage to look honestly at the one remaining issue that has delayed their return. The problem is simpler than they once believed, yet far more meaningful. They have been carrying expectations that no longer belong to the future they truly want. Expectations about how everything should happen, how every conversation should unfold, and how every unanswered question should already have a perfect explanation. Little by little, those expectations are beginning to fall away. In their place, something far more valuable is growing, a willingness to let the next chapter unfold naturally instead of trying to control every page before it is written. Stay till the end, because this quiet transformation is creating an opportunity neither of you expected. As they release those old expectations, they have started noticing opportunities they once overlooked. Familiar places suddenly feel inviting again. Conversations they might have avoided now seem worth having. Even simple moments carry a new sense of possibility. Without realizing it, they are positioning themselves closer and closer to the path that leads back to you. There is another beautiful detail they have not spoken aloud. They have begun imagining not just the joy of seeing you again, but the peace of being understood without pretending to be someone else. That thought has become deeply important to them. It reminds them that meaningful connections are not built on perfection. They are built on honesty, patience, and the quiet confidence that two people can continue growing together instead of growing apart. Don't skip, because something important is waiting for you in what happens next. Just when your soulmate feels ready to take a meaningful step forward, life places one final confirmation before them. It comes through someone who has no idea how significant their words will become. A simple conversation unexpectedly reflects everything your soulmate has been carrying in silence. Those few moments leave them with a feeling they cannot ignore, that waiting any longer may only postpone the happiness they have already been preparing for. And as that realization settles into their heart, they make a decision that surprises even themselves. It is not a dramatic promise, nor a rushed action. It is a quiet commitment to stop letting uncertainty guide their choices. From that moment on, every step they take begins pointing in the same direction. Yet there is one gentle sign they are about to receive, so unexpected and so personal, that it will erase the last trace of hesitation and reveal exactly when the path back to you is finally ready to open. The quiet commitment they made did not change the world overnight. What it changed was the way they began seeing each new day. Instead of asking whether the right moment would ever arrive, they started preparing themselves as though it already existed somewhere just ahead. That subtle shift transformed everything. Their attention moved away from uncertainty and toward possibility. Their heart, once divided between hesitation and hope, began choosing hope a little more with every passing day. There is something remarkable about this season of their journey. The closer they come to returning, the more they understand that love is not only about finding the right person, it is also about becoming the kind of person who can protect the peace they have found. This understanding has made them gentler with themselves. They are no longer rushing through unfinished emotions or pretending they have everything figured out. They are allowing wisdom to grow naturally, and in doing so, they are becoming someone who can truly appreciate what lies ahead. Something important is waiting for you, because the serious problem that once seemed so overwhelming has quietly begun to lose its power. Not because it disappeared on its own, but because your soulmate has stopped allowing it to define every decision. They have started placing greater value on what can be built instead of what once held them back. Every small choice they make now carries the same quiet direction. Toward clarity, toward honesty, and toward the future they can finally picture without fear or doubt. Then something beautifully unexpected happens. During an ordinary moment, they hear someone speak about second chances. It is not directed at them. It is simply part of an everyday conversation. Yet those words settle deeply within their heart. They begin wondering whether some opportunities are not meant to be repeated by accident, but returned with greater understanding. For several long moments, they sit in silence, realizing they have been waiting for permission that was never necessary. The only permission they truly needed was the courage to believe that meaningful beginnings are still possible. Don't skip, because this realization opens a door they never imagined would appear. They begin revisiting memories, not to remain in the past, but to discover what those memories have been trying to teach them all along. They smile at moments they once misunderstood. They appreciate conversations they had almost forgotten. They even recognize how certain delays quietly protected both of you from rushing into a chapter that neither heart was fully prepared to write. What once felt like lost time now feels like hidden preparation. As these thoughts continue unfolding, another quiet surprise arrives. They notice a small detail connected to you, something so ordinary that most people would never give it a second thought. Yet to them, it feels like a gentle reminder arriving at exactly the right moment. It is not dramatic. It does not demand attention. But it gives them a calm certainty that they are no longer walking in circles. They are finally moving in the direction their heart has been pointing toward all along. And just when that certainty begins to settle, an unexpected invitation enters their life. It seems completely unrelated at first. It could easily be dismissed as another ordinary opportunity. Yet hidden within that single invitation is the possibility of changing the course of everything that has been unfolding in silence. Whether they choose to accept it or not will reveal something neither of you has seen yet, because that one simple decision brings your paths closer than they have been in a very long time. The invitation rested quietly before them, asking for nothing more than a simple decision. No one around them sensed how meaningful it truly was. To everyone else, it appeared to be another ordinary opportunity that would come and go like countless others. But your soulmate felt something different the moment they looked at it. There was an unexplainable calm, as though life itself was gently whispering, "Do not overlook this one." For a while, they did nothing. They simply allowed themselves to sit with the feeling. That alone was unusual. In the past, they would have rushed toward an answer or walked away before their heart could speak. This time they chose neither. They listened. And in that quiet listening, they realized something that changed the way they understood the entire journey. The return to your life was never meant to be driven by urgency. It was always meant to be guided by readiness. That single realization lifted a weight they had carried for much longer than they realized. Suddenly, the serious problem no longer looked like a barrier standing between two hearts. Instead, It appeared as the final lesson that had been patiently preparing them to return with greater wisdom, greater patience, and a deeper appreciation for everything that truly matters. Stay till the end, because another gentle discovery is beginning to unfold. As they continue moving forward, they notice that the things which once distracted them are quietly losing their importance. Conversations that once consumed their thoughts now fade into the background. Worries that once felt overwhelming no longer hold the same power. Without forcing it, their focus keeps returning to one place, to the future they hope to build rather than the uncertainty they have already outgrown. There is also a beautiful change taking place within their heart that even they struggle to explain. They have stopped imagining a perfect reunion. Instead, they find themselves hoping for an honest one. They picture conversations filled with understanding instead of assumptions. They imagine smiles that come naturally, not because everything is flawless, but because both hearts have learned the value of patience. That vision has become more precious to them than any ideal they once chased. Don't skip, because something important is waiting just beyond this moment. The invitation they accepted begins leading them through a series of ordinary events that seem unrelated at first. A familiar place. An unexpected conversation. A small reminder that appears exactly when they need it. Individually, each moment feels simple. Together, they begin forming a path so clear that your soulmate can no longer dismiss it as coincidence. They quietly realize that every step has been bringing them closer to a decision they have been avoiding for far too long. Then, as the day draws to a close, they make a promise that no one else hears. It is not spoken aloud. It is made in the silence of their own heart. They promise themselves that if one more unmistakable sign appears, they will stop waiting for the perfect time and begin trusting the right one. They believe that promise will remain private. But before another sunrise arrives, something so quietly meaningful crosses their path that it feels like the answer they never expected to receive. And the choice they make in the very next moment will determine how your story begins its long-awaited new chapter. Before the new day had fully settled, the quiet promise they made returned to their thoughts with surprising clarity. They had expected to wake up feeling uncertain, perhaps even questioning everything they had decided the night before. Instead, they felt an unfamiliar sense of steadiness. Nothing around them had dramatically changed, yet something within them certainly had. It was as though their heart had finally stopped arguing with itself and had begun moving in a single direction. Then the gentle sign appeared. It was not extraordinary enough for others to notice. It did not interrupt the day or demand attention. It arrived through a simple moment that could easily have been forgotten. Yet for your soulmate, it carried a meaning that words could hardly explain. In that instant, they remembered a feeling they had almost convinced themselves to leave behind. The quiet confidence that some connections are strengthened not by rushing forward, but by remaining true through every season of growth. Something important is waiting for you, because this moment brought an unexpected realization. They finally understood that the serious problem was never asking them to turn away from you. It was asking them to become more honest with themselves before taking another step toward you. There is a profound difference between returning because of loneliness and returning because of clarity. Your soulmate now recognizes that difference with remarkable peace. As this understanding settles deeper into their heart, another beautiful change begins to unfold. They stop replaying old conversations, searching for mistakes or wishing they had chosen different words. Instead, they begin imagining new conversations, ones filled with openness, patience, and genuine listening. The future slowly becomes louder than the past, and for the first time in a long while, that future feels welcoming rather than uncertain. Stay till the end, because the next part of this journey is unlike anything they expected. A person they trust shares a simple piece of wisdom without realizing how perfectly it arrives. It is not advice meant specifically for them, yet it feels as though it answers a question they have been carrying in silence for months. Those few words gently remove the final trace of hesitation still lingering in their heart. Suddenly, they realize they have been waiting for certainty when what they truly needed was the courage to begin. Now their attention quietly turns toward preparation. Not preparation for a distant dream, but for something that feels increasingly close. They begin making small changes that seem insignificant to everyone else. They organize unfinished parts of their life. They reconnect with the calm they once lost. They choose peace over unnecessary distractions. Each small decision becomes another step toward the person they have been growing into all along. Don't skip, because what happens next changes the rhythm of everything. Just as your soulmate starts believing they understand the path ahead, they discover that someone has quietly noticed this transformation long before they did. That unexpected observer is about to say something so simple, yet so deeply meaningful, that it will confirm your soulmate's greatest hope, and after hearing those words, they will realize that the moment they have been preparing for is no longer somewhere in the future. It has already begun to unfold.